Thank you, and thank you, Professor Vishwajit Dharji, respected Muchkund Dubey ji, Vishwajit Dharji, Nityanand ji, Professor Atul Sharma ji, and all brothers and sisters present here in this webinar. In fact, I always look forward to understand the budget from different perspectives. Especially, I always wait for the CSD to organize the program for budget discussions. This year we are missing Professor Haq, especially for his insights into the agriculture aspect of the budget. My take on the budget, always I try to analyze and look at the budget from the perspective of Swadeshi. So I was very happy when I looked into the budget speech and found that no mention of FDI has been made. Mostly in the years of post liberalization, post new economic policy, every budget we used to find with a lot of praise and expectations about FDI and all sorts of measures which could be adopted to attract FDI. And we have seen in the yesteryears what has happened. And since the days of 1991, we find we find always the word protection was always avoided, and it was considered to be a very bad word. I'm happy since 2018, since the February 2018, the word protection has been used, and it was said in so many words by the finance minister that we are raising tariffs to protect the domestic industry. So, this has continued since 2018, and in this year as well, we find a lot of talk about the protection and the raising of tariffs and so on. So I always try to see what this budget can do, moving both away from the legacy of Nehru as well as the legacy of the Dr. Manmohan Singh, and the legacy of WTO influenced economic policies or World Bank influenced economic policies. So my friends will appreciate here that since the days of Nehru, the lot of public expenditure on capital, a lot of public capital expenditure used to be made those days to build more and more of public sector undertakings. But I'm not trying to, give any judgment on that, whether that was a good or a bad policy. But that definitely was, was crowding out the private investment, because when you have more and more of public sector undertakings producing different types of goods and services, obviously private investment in those sectors will get hampered, and that was basically a policy of the making public expenditure and crowding out of the private investment. But this time, when the finance minister was making the budget speech, she said very clearly that we are raising this capital expenditure uh, by 35% as compared to the budget estimates, and as respected, since there has been an increase in the capital expenditure during the current year. So the increase is approximately 24 to 25% of the revised estimates. But still this is a big increase, and almost everybody amongst us, we have been appreciative of this increase in public expenditure, public capital expenditure. So the very point which I'm trying to make here is that if you increase capital expenditure, and if that leads to an increase in the overall capital formation in the country, and most of the speakers here, we have been very wary of declining gross capital formation in the country, fixed capital formation in the country, and as the numbers are also suggesting, we have come down from nearly 39% to hardly 27-28% of the or approximately 30% if we take the overall gross capital formation. So this was a big decline, and everybody was worried about it. And if this capital expenditure by the government can crowd in the private investment, so we should be able to fill that gap which has occurred, and which is impacting our overall growth, as well as the state of public services and state of overall infrastructure in the country. And in fact, there has been a big reform. In fact, in the past, the reforms were, from me, reforms were not very welcome, because those reforms used to be in attracting more and more of FDI, or reducing the tariffs to attract more and more of imports. So that never used to be very welcome, especially from the point of view of Swadeshi, Jagaran, Manch. But this time we find that reform which has occurred, and in fact which has found place in terms of the expenditure part, is the Gati Shakti. And in fact, this whole Gati Shakti project needs to be understood, and this can really help us in reducing our logistic costs, and our country, if we are failing in raising exports, is basically because of the high logistic costs as well. So this Gati Shakti project, which the finance minister has mentioned again and again in the budget, needs to be understood. And if the money does not go into one or the other kind of infrastructure projects, and rather than that, if the Gati Shakti project can be taken up in an integrated manner, the rail, road, air, digitalization, and everything, getting integrated to reduce the logistic costs. So that can really be very helpful in reducing the logistic cost, and thereby the competitiveness of Indian exports, and also the domestic production. vis-a-vis imported goods. So that point I wanted to make, that this goes well with our objective of increasing the growth, because if the capital formation, the desired capital formation, is not taking place both by the private sector as well as by the public sector, then the high rate of growth which we expect, we are always worried, like, the growth has come down to 4%, 5%. So high rate of growth is possible if and only if we make a lot of capital formation, and that without the government support and government share in the capital formation, this was not very likely, and this is a welcome step in the government budget, especially in terms of the crowding in of the private investment. Because I hope private investment will come in different sectors, including the physical infrastructure like railroad and others, and also the digital infrastructure, and about the infrastructure for the potable water and also the housing. So a lot of private investment is expected. So the time will tell how much we are able to do that or achieve that. This is one part of the story. When I look at from the point of view of the Swadeshi, the second point I find the welcome thing in the budget is that we are trying to be more and more protective for the domestic industry. Apart from the protection, we are also trying to encourage through production-linked incentive schemes. More than 2 lakh crores were already announced for the next in the overall 3-4 years, and then the last because the concerns have been raised by my earlier speakers, that the overall supply is getting hampered, also because of the shortage of semiconductors. So the shortages have been, flagged by the earlier speakers, but I would like to say that mostly that was due to the maybe automobile sector or other sectors. It was because of the shortage of semiconductors, for which we never thought of producing in our country. So about $10 billion of support by the government for semiconductors, and also I used to always tell the concerned ministers that this is no good giving push to the solar energy without there being any solar equipment manufacturing capacity in the country. So that has also been, got the ear, and I find 19,500 crores being offered for or allocated for the solar equipment product manufacturing in the country. But while we are really talking about growth and raising our capital formation, both the public as well as private, we know in the past the private sector has been sitting on huge amount of surplus funds, but they were not ready to invest. And during COVID time, again, the top corporates have their profits have been increasing, and many new billionaires are also taking birth in the country. And number of billionaires is increasing, and but no investment taking place. as the numbers show. So if this budget can help raising that capital formation, that will be good. But what I find the downside of the budget is that we are not giving enough uh, uh, enough attention to the creation of more employment opportunities. I'm not talking of jobs, more employment opportunities, because unless or until the jobs are employment opportunities are not created, the problem of inequalities will continue to be there. And unemployment is the major cause of poverty. So unemployment, poverty, inequalities, they are all interrelated, and job creation, the employment creation is the only solution. But over the years, we have been giving much emphasis on growth and more on the corporate sector, more on the FDI, more on the MNCs. So obviously the jobs were not getting created. But and this budget it's also does talk about growth, does talk about capital formation, but again the job creation, the employment creation did not find the mention in the budget as such. Somebody said that एम्प्लॉयमेंट का ई भी इसमें बजट में दिखाई नहीं दिया कहीं पर बोलते हुए. तो what we suggested even before the budget that we can give encouragement to the employment creation by giving sort of subsidies to the small scale and also even the large scale industry where they employ more people, they can be given subsidy. Similarly, if we encourage more and more of small scale MSME sector, especially the micro and small sector, the job creation will automatically take place. Apart from that, since the days of Nehru, we have forgotten about entrepreneurship in the country, and hardly any efforts from the government on entrepreneurship development is taking place. So what we feel, and we have even started a campaign for entrepreneurship development. So what we had been suggesting the government is that we can start entrepreneurship development centers at the district level, so that the boost for new enterprise startups is one thing, and that the government might be doing on its own, but entrepreneurship development centers and creation of job opportunities, creation of employment opportunities in the rural areas, especially the support to the allied activities to agriculture, support for the food processing, support for the mushroom farming, dairy, and so many. So luckily, our dairy sector is quite protected and is developing well. But just by encouraging dairy in one or two states, we could become the world leader and topmost producer of dairy products or milk in the world. So easily we can be world leader in almost every agricultural produce. The boost being given to the organic and zero budget natural farming will lead to a reduction in the cost for farmers, and also may reduce the content of chemicals in our food plate. Uh, uh, and this is also an encouraging thing that the government is now trying to push the uh, oilseed sector. So that can improve our self-reliance in the agricultural produce, especially in the because we have surplus of food grains. That surplus really benefited us, no doubt about it, in while we were distributing ration to the poor people during the COVID. But so much of surplus of food grains can be avoided by encouraging more of oil seeds. But what I feel is that agriculture, we need to give more support to the for the constitutions of the FPOs. We need to reduce the number of the limit which is very high for the farmers. So we can reduce the number to 50 farmers, so that more and more, because gathering 300 farmers to form a FPO and a support from the government for the formation of FPOs can also be a welcome step. But this budget has failed to provide that. So I personally, I'm not in favor of the doles from the government for in any form. But till the time our people are poor, they are not, and because of the policies of the previous governments or this government, if the people are remaining poor, they need to be provided with food, they need to be provided with cash, they need to be provided with the Manrega type policies, jobs. But we need to bring those policies which can empower people to have the meaningful employment, which can help raise their incomes so that they can meet their basic requirements. Till the time, we need all such types of supports. But personally, in a way, I feel, because government fails to provide for those kinds of policies which can empower people to earn enough. So that is coming in way of the real welfare of the people. So, so in the times to come, the government, if the government provides more and more of support for self-employment, more and more support for entrepreneurship, more and more support for creating more jobs, then only we can say that this is a real welfare state. So welfare state doesn't mean, to my understanding, and from the point of view of the organization which I belong to, welfare state doesn't mean that the government provides the support or doles for meeting your two ends. The government support should be to provide you with an ecosystem, provide you with the support which can help you earn more and more so that you can meet the two ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashwani ji, and I think your last point you made was particularly important, because I think eventually the government will have to make people stand up on their own 2 feet, and this is extremely important, and that's why we've been also emphasizing that in agriculture, these kinds of subsidies is should be considered as temporary. Eventually, the farmer should be able to earn the right price or get the right price for their produce, and rely less on the government handouts. And that kind of environment has to be created through investment in agriculture, the appropriate investment in agriculture. Thank you very much for your views. Let me now invite Professor KB Saxena. Sir, you have the floor.